Hi everyone, this is Sean Wildermuth with AgiliTrain. Today we're going to be starting the first of 6 videos talking about consuming OData on a variety of platforms. Today we're going to start with the most basic, and that is the .NET platform. So let's jump right into it. I've got Visual Studio open with just a standard WPF project, and if I go ahead and run this project, we can see that it's launching a WPF application, though this could be WinForms or anything, to consume some data. I've got a list box on the left that's going to contain some information about a workshop, and then some information on the right. We're using data binding and stuff. We're not really going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to actually get data out of an OData feed. Like many other ways of working with services, OData or WCF data services work directly against service references. Now I'm using a publicly available service reference or OData feed that AgiliTrain exposes to show its workshops. So I can simply use add service reference, and if I was using my own service, I could say discover in the same project and do what you would. Because it's a public service, I'm just going to go ahead and point it at our service, which is at AgiliTrain/services/AgiliTrain service. It's going to churn a little. I'm going to find this reporting training entities endpoint that I've created. Let's go ahead and put it in a AgiliTrain namespace for ease. So we've got the service reference, and really what that's doing is building a proxy object for us to do our queries against, as well as data structures that form the types that we can get from that service. So again, we wanted to go ahead and get some data from our data service to show in our UI about workshops. So we can just use the loaded call here to make that happen. The first thing we're going to need is a reference to the service, and we can do that by creating a context object, much like we would in Entity Framework. And this is going to be called the reporting training entities. And the name of this is really going to depend on your service itself. Let me try that name. Yep. We can see it's here in our AgiliTrain namespace that we created, and it's going to take a URI to point at the actual service. This way you can change it at runtime to point at particular services. I'm just going to repeat our URI here, agilitrain.com, services, agilitrain.svc. This is the public service that we expose that people can look at our training entities with. There's no forms of authentication. It supports anonymous authentication because people want to use our data, probably better for us. From this context object, it's going to support a number of endpoints, like currencies and, in our case, workshops that we could actually look at. To consume OData, you're actually just going to use links. So I'm going to create a link query here and say from w in context.workshops. Select W, and let's go ahead and order them in some way. Order by name. And I want to get not only the workshops, but the events that workshop has, so we can show those as well. So I'm going to use expand to give it the name of events, which is a property on the workshop object. But I also want not only the events, but also the event location for each event. So I can go ahead and use a complex expansion there. Now the form here, you might think a period might make more sense if you're dealing with Entity Framework, but because this is OData, it's going to be a navigable path, in this case, events/event location. This is going to not only expand the event, but also the event location for each event. And here we can just look at our object, and there's actually we're just going to set the data context for our whole form to be this list of workshops we get. So we can just say query to list to go ahead and execute that query. Nothing's asynchronous, everything's very straightforward. You can imagine going against a standard link-enabled ORM, like Entity Framework, Link to SQL, ITPro, those sorts of things as well. So let's go ahead and run it. So here it's pulled down all of our workshops, and if we look at, let's look at this, the Silverlight Tour workshop, it not only shows us the data, but it brought in the events that we're going to hold as well, with the event location, which happened to be that name of the city and state, or city and country in the case of those different events. And we can see that what we're getting down here is a complex set of data from the service, not just a rectangular set of data, but a complex set of data. And so the trick there, using a service reference, using link to query the service, and then using those incorporated objects in your .NET application. So this has been the first part of our 6-part series on consuming OData. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to showing you what's next.